First News with Keeler in the morning on WIBX and WIBX950.com.
Hello, everyone in Central New York. This is Dave Letterman, your old TV pal. Remember me? I'm supposed to say something witty and funny here about Bill Keeler, but I've got nothing. Ever see a picture of this guy? That's a joke in itself. Anyhow, here's Keeler on WIBX.
A lot of political comments here this morning we'll get to coming up, though. First, though, I want to get to the man, the one and only, John Zogby, who's on the line now. John, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Bill. How are you?
Well, I don't know. You tell me. I rely on you to determine whether I'm good or not. And what do you say here on Election Day?
Yeah, our final poll has Harris ahead in the popular vote by 3.7 points. The popular vote, you know, I wouldn't call it a surge, but steadily increasing. I think I'm comfortable suggesting that she'll win the popular vote. The battleground states, though, we're just not getting any real signal, any clear signal. The polls are tied. When they're not tied, there's a 0.3 or a 1.1 lead by one or the other candidate. And so it's not only difficult to project from that, it's impossible.
Yeah. This is what you're saying is when it comes to the Electoral College, this thing is a dead heat.
It's a dead heat. Wow. Absolutely. You look at Pennsylvania, the final polling in Pennsylvania averages out to a 0.1% lead by Trump. There is nothing to go on there. Even if he was behind by 0.1%, you're talking about movement that's really not any movement at all, well within the margin of error. And frankly, Michigan, Wisconsin, North Carolina, even and out west as well, when you see a little bit of movement, it's in the 0.1%.
Yeah.
So again, no movement at all.
John, there's always been such hyper focus on Georgia. That's been one of the key swing states as of late. But it feels like there hasn't been a lot of campaigning from either candidate as heavily as maybe a North Carolina, Pennsylvania, or some other states. Is that the case? Is there more a belief in one side or the other that they're going to lock that up?
Well, first of all, they've made abundant campaign stops in Georgia, but I think the two states to watch are Pennsylvania and North Carolina. They're both large states. Pennsylvania, of course, 19 electoral votes. North Carolina, 16 electoral votes, like Georgia, incidentally. But a sense that by both sides that Pennsylvania can be won and that North Carolina can be won, and that's an Eastern bellwether that could portend for other states.
Yeah. So I am doing an interview later on today where they're asking people their thoughts on the election, and in addition, do I feel if the Democrats are regretting choosing Kamala Harris? It is interesting how the GOP has done a really good job of repositioning her because she was relatively unknown, really, prior to all of this. But I'll ask you your opinion. Are Democrats second-guessing their choice?
Some are. There's really no love among, let's say, the Clinton people, the Obama people, and now the Biden people and the Harris people. They were whispering about her when she was just the vice president and looking for reasons to keep Biden in the race. Well, we don't want Kamala. She's damaged.
Yeah.
But I think she's turned out to be a candidate. Look, this thing is tied. When you consider that the Biden administration has an approval rating of 40%, give or take, that 70% or so think the country is headed in the wrong direction. Why is this even close? You would think that those would be huge albatrosses around, a Democratic candidate's neck. But she has made it close. Now, a lot of that is fear of Donald Trump. And, our poll that came out yesterday showed that about a third of her supporters fear Donald Trump more than they back her.
Right.
But the point is, I don't see where she's hurt the Democrats. She has performed better than Joe Biden was performing.
Yeah. So we're really saying this thing is a dead heat. However, we could run into a scenario where it turns out to be a landslide because of these very close races all turn one way or the other.
That's right.
That changes
That's what
everything.
happened in 2012.
Yeah.
Obama and Romney were neck and neck going into the weekend. Obama was underperforming among younger voters, but then we saw Friday, Saturday, Sunday, not only that he was increasing his support among 18 to 29-year-olds, but in particular 18 to 29-year-old women who turned out for him in the end very big. We're seeing that young women and older women, interestingly, are backing Harris in huge numbers, and that's something to look at. That was behind the Iowa poll, a large woman's turnout in Iowa, which suggested this past weekend that Harris was actually leading. And then in our poll, we find a 70-point gender gap between 18 to 29-year-old young men and 18 to 29-year-old women.
I'm assuming the young men favoring Trump, the women
right.
the other way. Yeah.
Yeah. 35-point differentials on each side, adding up to 70%.
Wow. All right. All right, John, where will we be tomorrow morning?
I'll be around. I've got interviews, so call soon.
All right. We will get you tomorrow, and we're all sitting at the edge of our seats here to see what ends up happening. John Zogby, as always, thank you for your insight, and we'll talk tomorrow.
Take care. Thanks,
right,
Bill.
Thanks so much. There you go. What do you think? But here's the scenario where, as John said, this could be a landslide victory. If all of the, like anything else, you have these tight races in each of these states, especially in the swing states, these battleground states, all of a sudden, if they start skewing one way or the other, 1, 2, 3, it's over. It's really over.
Yeah.
And I think if that were to happen, I would be leaning towards really happening for Trump, right? I don't know. It's just a gut feeling. You get that feel. But we're also in an area that is heavy Trump. Oneida County is very heavy Donald Trump. You see it by all the F. Biden signs that are out there. And there are many.
I think the fact is that
I want to stop and knock on the door and say, he's not running anymore.
they still are angry.
Yeah.
The GOP has done a very, I think, good job of changing the way that they approach the early voting. Many people were vehemently against that, myself still included.
Yeah, I'm not sure much of a difference that makes. But yeah, they.
Well, I mean, it's
nationally, it's neck and neck. I mean, Democrats have a bit of the edge nationally when it comes to early voting, but it's very, very close. You go back years, it wasn't even. I mean, Republicans just didn't vote early.
Right. So that was a strategy that they've had since the last election to try to urge people to go out earlier. But it's still a toss-up. I have no inkling. World Series, right? I knew the Dodgers were the better team, and ultimately they were going to pull it off. I just have no.
Yeah, I think the World
no
Series
real...
is the way you're comparing it is correct. It's a bad comparison. You can't compare it to this race.
No.
This could go either. And the other part of it is, and he said it's a third of voters of Kamala Harris's voters are anti-Trump and not necessarily pro-Kamala. I dare say that number might even be higher than that. This is a lot about Trump, and for those who don't like him, it doesn't matter. Kamala Harris is perfectly fine for those people.
You have to remember, too, when she ran organically for president in the primary, the Democrat primary in 2020, I believe, she was out early.
Yeah.
1% of the vote. Didn't even win California.
Well,
her home
that
state.
is as meaningless as the fact that Donald Trump used to be a Democrat. It's a whole different scenario now. This is
as far as John was saying, her
world.
popularity going into her being selected as the candidate.
But I think she's done a tremendous job, and I get it if you're watching a certain. I mean, if you're always only consuming one type of news, she's evil, she's communist, socialist at the very least, which we all are. We just don't know it. And I understand. They've done a great job of repositioning her and demonizing her. But the reality is she hasn't made any mistakes. Really hasn't. I mean, you expected her to do something stupid, and she hasn't done that. And I feel like, unlike Trump, who can, at this point, do whatever, go out on Fifth Ave and shoot somebody, and it's not going to change the support, she is in a different boat. She does something bad, she's done. And that's why I think they were very, very careful getting her out there. She did interviews. I think they were very careful because they knew one stupid move and it's all over. So in that regard, I think she did a decent job. You clearly don't see that, but believe me, the fact that it's dead even should make you look in the mirror.
I'm just saying that it bodes better for anti-Trump is all I'm saying.
There's no doubt there's a huge anti-Trump vote. The point is, it's tied. That's unbelievable that it's tied. And I know there's somebody out there yelling at the radio saying, yeah, but if it is really tied, is it really tied? I guess we'll find out.